Supercoach Master Footy fans and Supercoach fans. I am Geordie, and alongside next to me is Matt Reeves.
And Matt Reeves is alongside next to me is Geordie, and today, before I want to say today, Chef, did you know Sam Durham played 22 games last year?
22?
20 games.
Oh, no, well, anyway, chaps, today we're talking about Rucks. Not Sam Durham. But before we get into that, oh, if you're new here, please like and subscribe because we have special gifts just for our subscribers. Free entry to Cash and Prize League. Guys, tell your friends, tell your family, anyone who plays Supercoach, make another fake profile for all I care. Yeah. Get in here, like our page, like the Facebook, send it to me, join the Cash League, win yourself some money, win yourself one of these, guys. Put it on the screen for you. This nice Supercoach
in the
ring.
Mahogany,
oh,
the mahogany casing, some done.
I can't. I wear it everywhere.
This is valued at $1,100 dues. But you can.
I love it. I actually really want to win.
You can snap this up just by being the first.
I really hope
in our league.
I really hope I win because that looks amazing.
It looks very nice, and it's valued at how much, Shorts?
4,432.
All the buckets of KFC in the world.
Now, guys, yeah. So if you haven't jumped in the group and you're a subscriber, you like us on Facebook, we really want you in there. We want you to get a chance to win that prize. This is a fucking sick ring. These are sick polos, and there are sick prizes and money to be won.
And free money to be won.
I mean, how have our friends really taken advantage of this situation and put?
They're all laughing at us.
Because the cash league that we usually go in, they're going to get these money for free.
They don't even have to put in 150 bucks. They just
Masterclass of Ruckman. There is confusion everywhere, but me and Maddie have been fucking spending days in the stats trying to get the best Ruckman for you. So we're going to give you a tick, a cross, or a question mark because there's some things that we need to see.
And we don't want to do too many question marks because we don't want to keep you in the loop of confusion.
I know, because we already are confused. So we're going to give you some pretty confident answers, right?
Let's go.
Right, Matt Reeves?
Right, George. And
from the top, bitch.
You've been scaring me lately, George.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. You know what?
You've been out of character, and I don't know if I like it.
I'm blashing out. Come on, let's...
All right, we're going to start on big, stinky, balding Max Gawn.
I love Gawn.
Oh, don't we all? Do we love him now?
Yeah.
We don't love him now.
I mean, I don't love him in Supercoach. I love him.
He's a great bloke. He's a big...
Like, if Grundy goes down season-ending injury, he's my pick. He's my... Anyway, tell me some stats.
Mr. Gawn, as you saw in the video at the start of us, I don't know why we touched ourselves, but fair enough.
If Gawn Grundy doing it.
If Gawn Grundy doing it, and they're the coolest cats in... What do they call themselves? I forgot they got a name.
The Tap Brothers?
The Tap Brothers.
That's pretty cool.
Wow. That is so cool. All right. So Gawn, he's in 3% of teams still. I just want to... What do you think about that?
I think... So this is... I got what I think. I'll tell you what I think. I'll tell you what I think.
You tell me what... What do you...
Gawn, now that Grundy's here, they're both two real dominant ruckmen. He should be, like... If you look at it logically, say, oh yeah, 50% each, but I really think Gawn is a better forward than Grundy is a forward. So I'm tipping that he's going to get 35 to 40% CBAs, and Grundy will obviously get the leftover. But here's the thing, Gawn is good everywhere he plays. You put him in the back line inside the marks, he's great. You put him in the forward line, he's going to kick a goal.
And they at least pass him because there's a lot of midfielders that don't pass for those big lumbering...
But they see Max Gawn, they see that bolt head shimmering from 60 away and Viney's got it on a wing. He's going to just pump it in there and he's going to go for Gawn.
Take a pluck.
So I don't...
But at 113 average, for that's...
His price, his buy, the inclusion of Grundy unfortunately makes you a solid X-Maxi G.
Solid cross.
That's me and Maddie's final verdict.
I don't think anyone in the ruck at 50% game time, if at best, with Grundy and Gawn, can be averaging 113.
No, I don't think so. I don't think
by
so.
saying that, if he does get that forward status and he drops to 500,000, I think it's time to... You would want to pick him up?
We can definitely consider strong contention if he gets DPP.
Yeah.
Now, because we spoke about him, let's just get straight into Grundy.
Straight into Grundy.
So obviously, if we think Gawn is going to get 30 to 40-ish CBAs, he's going to get more. And I think Grundy is going to get more.
So do I.
And the big difference about these two, Matty, is, well, you know, Grundy's turning 31 this year, which is not bad for the ruckman. That, you know, really early 30s, late 20s is when they...
Just to rewrite what we just said, Grundy is not now the main ruckman anymore. Like, you're talking about 31 ruckmans, and usually the older ruckmans do hit their prime.
And by the way, guys, we don't know how we rated each other, these ruckmen, so we could have a completely different opinion. So we'll just keep talking back and forth until we hit a snag.
All right, but majority rules, and I'm older, so that makes sense.
So
all right, so for me, Grundy, not only is a ruck, and I think he's going to get maybe 60 to 70% of his ruck time, but he's also a natural midfielder as well, because Grundy does, when he does a lot of clearances.
He does what Grundy
does. He does what he does when he does. Look,
oh, sorry, Grundy's 29 in April.
There you go, but he's still, 29 in April.
That's good. That's a really good age for a ruckman.
That's a really good age for a ruckman. And look, he's very cheap considering what he was. However,
that's the big difference between him and Max. He's like, what, 113k cheaper or something like that. Here, I had to scroll past the Nankervises and the Goldsteins of the world just to get to Grundy's price. He's
in a premiership team, I think, well, not in a premiership team, but in a premiership team.
A premiership contender for sure.
For sure. And I think, they'll do very well with Grundy joining their ranks. So for me...
Final verdict, Matty? What do you have in that?
Okay, look, due to the lack of rucks, 16% liking, I think a lot of it's got to do with his price.
Absolutely. Because if he was 600,000, no way known anyone
no one knows going to be picking him. So I'm not even going to give him a question mark. I'll back Grundy in to average over 100.
Matty, I have him as a tick as well. I don't have him as a tick because I think he's a must-get absolute lock. I put him as a tick because of the other options there that we're all going to go through. He's one you should consider. We do think he's obviously, the days of him getting those 600,000 premium ruckman is gone. I still think he can average a respectable 95 to 100.
That's what he's priced at,
yeah.
Even less.
And that's, like, I think with Grundy's price, it's kind of safe to kind of have the punt on Grundy.
You're not getting Grundy to think he's going to make you 100k and he's going to be building up, because with the ruck selections here, I think it's very hard to say one of these people are going to be 600,000 at the end of the year or next year.
So the thing is, we just have to go into as much stats as we possibly can and a bit of like logical thinking, because anyone can look and say, yeah, two big ruckmen, they're both going to get 50% CBAs. But no, we've got to be more logical. Grundy is not a good forward. You send out the pies, he's never actually, there's not enough statistics to say that Grundy has never played like less than 60 or 70% CBAs for Collingwood. So there's not enough data to make that decision. But that being said, that must mean he's not a very good forward.
No, but Grundy does run, he does tackle, he does get touches, and he does get clearances without hitting it out. So that's why I think he's a tick based on his price, the lack of rucks.
And he's been pretty durable.
He is. And 16% ownership. No, I'll give that a tick for sure.
I think that's one of the ones you need to consider, guys. Grundy, if he's not in your team, have a look at him. You can't really got to discard his previous numbers because he's gone to a team where, he might not be the number one ruckman. But if you look a bit, he's a really good price. He's a risk-free price based on the own one.
I don't think he'll gain value. I think he'll stay the same, averaging around the 95 to 100. But again, if you can tell me about 3 or 4 ruckmans that can average over that, I want to hear it.
Look, I reckon they'll spend more time going forward for sure. Because Gawn has kicked 5 goals a game before. He's proven that he can kick it.
That's true. I want to ask you a question that wasn't part of the criteria.
Go for it.
What's Gawn going to average, do you think? The predicting average of Gawn?
There's so many variables for that. But if you put me on the spot and you want to know an average for Gawn, I'm going to still say around maybe... He's going to average, I reckon, the same, if not a little bit higher than Grundy. But it's not going to be too much higher. And for 110, 113k, so I think Grundy's a better pick.
I reckon I've got Gawn maybe in the 85 to 95 category. I think I've got...
I don't think he's going to drop off. Well, maybe if it's a 95, then yeah, but I don't think he can go 85 because, as I said before, Gawn plays anywhere. Yeah. He's great to intercept the mark. He's a great at kicking goals. So,
well, we'll see. If we get him in the forward, we'll see how we go. Grundy, I kind of have him maybe around the 95 to the 105 in between there somewhere.
I also wouldn't be surprised if you got a 90 as well, which at that price I think is a very fair, reasonable thing.
Well, that's the price that he's at.
So we've got a lot of ruckman to get through, so let's go to the next one. Do you want to go to Jared?
You tell me where you want.
I want to go to Jared Witts.
Jared Witts.
Now, if you're a lifetime member of Supercoach Masters and you've checked out the videos, he has been an absolute must not get. Now, you've agreed with me in every video. I'll play it back if I can.
I've changed my mind.
Now, Witts has been a very much not get for very good reasons. I'll tell you those reasons. But from now, we'll get to the verdict in a second. So, he's the second highest priced player. So that's going to cause chaos in your structure. If you need to say, oh yeah, I've got a 450 or a 500k, you want to get an extra 100 and something k to get Witts in. He does have the best buy. That is something definitely going in his favour. But his first year over scoring 100 Supercoach points in 10 years of being in the system. 10 years, he scored over 100 once. And that was last year as a 31-year-old turning this year. So those are alarming signs. Now, everyone's thinking, oh, I'm going to pick a $600,000 player that's a sole ruckman because that feels safe. I'm telling you, Witts at $600,000 is not a safe move. Now, he was an absolute cross no-get, but my now verdict is a question mark for Witts only because of the competition around him is so bad. And we have updates of all the popular ruck selections coming up as well, so don't go anywhere. But so this makes Witts go from absolute hell no to a no, not really, but
I guess for me, I've got him as a tick, and I agree with Geordie as far as, yes, we've been bagging him all of this whole Supercoach videos that we do regarding him. Geordie's was his must not get. Look, I like the fact the buy around. I like the fact he's a sole ruckman. I like the fact that he's literally he's averaging 110, and I think he's probably the only one at the price that can maybe match that. Maybe.
It's only not once in 10 years.
But again, what upsets us is obviously from get-go of when Supercoach opened, everyone was trying to get those $500,000 rucks or 460s with Camerons, and you know, you've already developed your team and structure around those $500,000 ruckmen that apply to us. So, like what he said, it will stuff up the structure if you do try to fit him in.
Especially when you spend 600K. I even want it to be a captain option, a vice captain option, good value. Witts is not a good captain option. He's not a good vice captain option, and he's really not good value. If you're at best, and you're hoping at best, you're paying what you get for. And that's what you would be wanting if you've done that. There is no good value in picking that, but if you deem some kind of safety in it, that's why I put him as a question mark.
That's what it is. For me, I don't think his ability to hit it down, because he's, you know, top 2 most tap outs to advantage, you know, as a stat for the Gold Coast ruckman in Jared Witts. Geordie doesn't like him because of the age. I think he's right in the way.
I don't think about the age.
No, just about that he's averaged 110 his whole year. He's played a full season his whole year. And also getting him at 400,000 last year, whatever he was last year, we're seeing, you know, 6. That's a lot of money. That's a Jack Steele. That's a Parrish. That is
a Jack Steele and a Jack Parrish. And Jack Parrish. Oh yeah. Darcy Parrish. Now, if you compare those guys, Jack Steele absolute value at 600K, Parrish absolute value with the sub-effective number for 600K, and you're getting Witts not value. Probably will be able to get him cheaper. He's not going to maintain that price.
Do you think he'll be the top 2 average players?
No.
You don't? Okay. I think at least he'll be in the top 3 average ruck players.
No, he won't be in the top 2.
Yeah.
I don't think any personally. Well, I mean, if he's done it once, why has he only done it once?
I've got a tick, but it's kind of like a question mark tick.
The question mark. Chav, you're really sitting on the fence. You just save for the tick. Now,
I'm giving the tick. I don't mind.
Timmy English. This is an interesting, controversial one. All you assholes had me except for me. Not you guys. No, it's the Supercoach Master community. They're actually smart. They listen to
all you assholes, eh? So Tim English has played 15 games last year, George. 15.
He's at a really good age. Turning 26 this year. He's got a good buy the last buy. So he'll cover you through all the buys up until the last one. He should be the sole ruckman, which is something going in his favour. But he's never played more than 18 games over his 6 years in the AFL. He's never played more than 18 games.
You can't trust that.
Now, this season is 1 game longer, right?
And he's already injured.
And he's already had an interrupted pre-season with a hamstring. No, we're not saying he's not going to be fit for round 1. He definitely will be. But if for someone who hasn't played 18 games or more in 6 years, entire time in the AFL, in a longer season, already having injury trouble.
And he's not even running hard, it's training. Like, I know you got to train hard in you, but like, you know, you probably did a couple of laps around the oval and then you pulled his hammy. Like, what?
So for those reasons, he was a tick. Barely. Now he is a strong question mark. That's because there's so many other people. I think he'll be one of the higher averaging players. If you think he's going to play 23 games this year, you're fucking wrong.
Yeah, and 23% people own him. That's 1 in every 4 almost. And man, the price is too much.
What do you have him? What's your verdict?
I got him across. Like
Cross? That's a strong one.
It's like English is great. You know, like he only just broke out last year. Like properly, and with that breakout of last year,
he's had 2 games. He's had 2 years over 100. And
yeah, but this is where like he actually showed us that he can do things. Even then, this is the highest that he's ever been, and this is probably his ceiling as far as average points per game.
I don't think that. I think because he's 26, he can go another step higher.
I'm sure he can, but like, you know.
But I don't think.
He reminds me of a Matty Cruiser type figure where like there's so much hype and he's the lanky, he's the skinny, he's got really no meat on him and he can do things around the floor and he was the number one.
He's a horrible tap ruckman. I watched some games of him. Yeah. He always tapped to the opposite, and you always get his points from around the ground.
You're getting Tim English because he can kick goals and get marks and things like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if Tim English, went down with a bit of a twinge or was, rested for round 6, missed one game, came back, and it's not what you want this year. I want personally. I think it doesn't matter if you know your ruckman, because it's going to be someone fucking stupid like Pruess.
Yeah.
It's going to be someone that comes out of the absolute nowhere, even though we're going to speak about Pruess, so don't go anyway. But this year, you can want to be risky because you've got more trades, fine. But me, I don't want to be sideways in my ruck all year. I want to get someone at least know they're going to play 22 games. If they don't average the most, then by 5 or 6 or 8 points, that's fine. Get some ruckman that's going to play some games.
That's why I don't even have him a question mark. Like, I want a ruckman that I don't like. The whole ruck structure we had for the last 6, 7, 8 years.
Set and forget. It's going to be set and sideways trade. Set and sideways trade.
We don't even know. We don't even know what a set and forget is this year.
There is no set and forget this year. That's why we're doing the masterclass.
That's right. We're doing. Anyway, final verdict. English for me is a cross. Geordie thinks it's a question mark.
That's based on the competition.
Based on the competition. Yeah, fair enough. All right, next one, George.
You got Darcy? Sean Darcy?
Sean Darcy.
Tell me your thoughts on him and I'll tell you mine.
I had Sean Darcy last year and he played some games for me where he stood out, and then he also did some stuff where I needed to put him on the bench because I had, the luxury of having him on the bench for another ruckman. I'm not going to get him again. And for the price that he is with
Champ, you've got to really start revealing the verdict before the stats.
Champ, the stats is what set Sean Darcy. The facts, I should say, not the stats. The facts is obviously Luke Jackson coming in. And Sean Darcy, to me, I think it's more of, not so much I personally am not going to get him again. Mm-hmm. It's a question mark for me.
It's a question mark.
It's a question mark because I want to see how they both gel together. I want to see Fremantle play a practice match, and we'll be reporting on the practice matches, every one of them. I want to see Fremantle play a practice match. I want to see where Darcy is, and I want to see where Luke Jackson is for me to give a proper verdict, hence the question mark. When a new ruckman comes in, I'm confident. So obviously you could say, well, Matt, why don't you say this about Grundy and Gawn? We know that Grundy and Gawn are quality star players. Darcy at the best of times can be terrible, but at the best of times...
You think you'd be getting more than 60% CBAs, 70% CBAs, Darcy?
Well, let's hope so.
I think so. But what I got for Darcy is he's turning 25 this year. So he's...
Wow, he looks...
He's got a lot of meat on him.
Yeah.
He's got the first bye, I believe. So that's not too bad. He hasn't played a full season in 6 years.
Played a full season last year, didn't he?
Nope. No. Luke Jackson came over to the club, which is the talking point. I think so. This is the thing. So they got rid of Meek. They brought in Jackson. There's a big difference there because Meek was only played if Darcy went down.
Meek played about 4 or 5 games, didn't he, or something like that?
Yeah, and they trialled them together, and that didn't work. But this time, Jackson is going to be playing. If Darcy and Jackson are fit, they're both going to be in that same team, okay? There's no question about it. They're in best 22. Meek wasn't in best 22. He was more of if there's a spot for him, we'll chuck him in. Meek's gone, and Darcy played horrible when Meek was in. Jackson's in now. So if you see Jackson, doing that kind of, 80% forward, maybe just pinching in the ruck, Darcy wouldn't be the worst option. So he played 21 games last year in 2021, which is good for an injury-prone ruck. I don't think 20 or 20 over is pretty good. And he played 19 games in 2022, so it's not that injury-prone as everyone's expecting Darcy usually is. But everyone's forgetting in 2021, he averaged 118.
He did pretty well.
Then
he was pulling out 180s and 170s.
No, those are mammoth numbers.
Darcy can produce some big numbers, and you don't even expect he can do that. But he does.
So I've got very similar to you. I've got a question mark, but it's leaning towards more of a question mark kind of tick if he's getting more 70% CBAs in the preseason.
Are we putting Luke Jackson in this as well?
Yeah, why not? While we're on the Freo boys. But yeah, consider that one, guys. Darcy's averaged 118 last year. He's not as injury prone as everyone thinks. He played 21 games last year and 19 games the year before that. Obviously, we want someone who's going to play 20, but everyone we've mentioned, not very consistent so far. These ruckmen like to break down. But this guy, averaging 118.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, Jules, but I think is it a question mark or a tick or a question?
It's a question mark at the moment, but you know, if you look at the preseason game and you see that he's getting a good amount of CBAs, he could be a tick, despite his injury troubles, only because there's no one around.
And I see Freo doing very well this year. And look, so for me, like that's why I said Luke Jackson and Sean Darcy, I think are in the same boat, being the same team. My question mark for both of them is I just want to see them play together to see what happens.
Yep. I'm with you there. I completely agree with that verdict.
Yeah. So that's the only reason.
And he's very underpicked. He's very underpicked for what he used to be.
5%.
And he's a lot cheaper than he's been in previous years. I don't think Jackson affects him that much where, you know, everyone shouldn't be getting him at 5'6", because he's usually always over 600,000.
Well, I still need to see it now that we've actually got another ruckman besides Meek that will probably get 20 games, 22 games being fit. So big question mark there. See how they play together.
Let's talk about Jackson.
Let's talk about Jackson. Well, Jackson, I just kind of said my spiel about Jackson. Jackson obviously is a new upcoming, you know, ruckman. Any Freo was so lucky to get him. I think he will be star of the future.
So he's turning 22 this year. So he's really young, but he's got a lot of raw talent. And like I don't think he will not be the #1 ruckman this year unless there's, you know, Darcy goes down injured. So in his he's only played 3 years in the system, and his 3 years he averaged 58.1. 71.6 and I think 84.5. So each year he's had a significant jump in the increase. So he's got to 17 extra points on his first year. Then he got an extra 13 points. So he's another one that could have a relatively good year. I don't think he will be getting that much CBAs, but if he's getting 50% CBAs, he could be a really good pickup because he's also dual position. Yeah. And that could be really helpful.
But again, like, you know, at the start of the year, he's playing everywhere but ruck, so who knows if he will be that midfielder. Like, that's what I mean. I want to see where he's going to be playing.
So he's played 20 or more games in the last 2 years. So even for a young ruck, he's durable.
His 4th year in.
He's got some good talent, and look, he's increased his average substantially every year that he's been in the system.
58, 71, and 84.
So he's at least increased his average 13 points every single year. If he does that again, he's going to be a premier.
Yeah.
But that's yet to be seen. If he was in Melbourne and was getting a similar role, then I think maybe that would be a better pick. Fremantle is a bit of an unknown with the CBAs. So either Darcy or Jackson could be a good pick.
Verdict on them?
Verdict on them is a question mark.
Yeah, same. Moving forward to
There's
the next
not many
one.
other question marks in here. So you just look at the preseason for these games. If it's 50% or more for Jackson, get him. If it's, say, 70% or more for the Darcy, I recommend looking at him as well. Jackson more so because he's dual position. You can get him and just wait to see who the good ruckmen are.
Wait to see, George. What's the next one you want to do?
Well, what's the next high, champ?
Oh, I don't know. I've just got you. Just tell me what you want to do, and I've got my notes here.
All right. Well, let's talk about. Come
on, George.
Riley O'Brien.
Riley O'Brien, big Riley O'Brien from Adelaide Crows. He is in 2% of teams and
2%
of geniuses.
Let's see, he's turning 28 this year, so there's nothing bad in the age department going on, so he's probably big bustling now. Now, my problem is he was dropped in round 23, I think, against the Brisbane Lions in 2022 for form. And you're spending $560K this year on someone who was dropped for a young kid called Staunton
in Adelaide Crows. Jaws, I don't think we need to ramble on.
Anyone that's a primo that is in danger of getting dropped, you don't want him, right?
I think we've said enough things already for him.
He's not injury prone. So because last 4 games he got 18 games, 17 in the COVID year, which is all of them, 20 games and 20 games. He only missed games through getting dropped. So he's not injury prone. He's durable.
He's durable. Yeah.
And the last 4 years though, he hasn't averaged less than 95. So he can belt out good scores. He's durable, but he's got a bad buy. And
got a bad buy. 2% of people own him. 560K at that. That's a cross.
I got a cross for him as well, despite him being durable and despite him not averaging less than 95 in the last 4 years, which are all big ticks. Huge cross is being dropped for a young kid, especially a team like Adelaide, which is tipped at the bottom 8 of the ladder. Maybe they want to try the young kids more. And if Riley O'Brien puts 1 foot wrong, he's in the fucking sandful.
That's right. Let's not ramble on about these crosses. I think we've given us, I reckon the first 4 facts was enough to say cross and moving on.
But these are good stats.
They are good stats, but they're good stats not to get people. And 2%
Natanui.
Big, good old Nick Nat. He's 5'3", He's way too old, Jules. I know you got his age.
He's turning 33 in May. He's turning 33 in May.
He's turning 33.
He's almost as old as us.
Way too expensive for me. Plays, what, 50-60% of game time. Played, what, 9 games last year.
8 games.
8 games. He's falling apart. And, yeah, like, he's not in the best shape that he's been in.
Because unless you see someone's cannons in the fucking pre-season training drill, you don't think they're in good shape.
He's 33. Is that fair? George, you're 33 years old.
No, not. I'm older.
How old? 33.
I'm 34 yet.
Oh, you just turned 34.
No, it was like a month ago. You didn't even come to my birthday.
You didn't invite me. You told
anyway,
you told Jamie you didn't want me to come. I'm joking.
Yeah. Jamie, don't tell him. Anyway. Natanui is not as injury prone as I once thought going into the game. So you did play 8 games last year because you know how they were tanking.
Yeah.
Look at our other videos if you want to know more about that. He played 22 games the year before, and he played 16 games in the COVID year, which is only missing 1 game in those. So he's and another good sign is definitely the #1 ruckman in West Coast, which is a good sign. Yeah. Especially with everyone we've gone on through that's got some competition. But he plays 60% game time.
Can you trust him though?
No, you can't trust a 33-year-old that plays 60% of game time. He's a cross, but he's a lot lighter of a cross than what I previously had him before. I saw that his durability isn't as bad as I once thought.
It's a green cross, not a red cross.
No, it's more like an orange cross.
An orange cross, so still a cross.
Anyway. It's definitely still a cross, guys. Yeah.
Who knows if he still knows how to play footy? He's been away for that long, like, to be honest.
What are you talking about?
I haven't heard much about him in the preseason either. At all.
He's played 8 games last year, and then before that, he only missed 2 games in 2 years.
8 games, that's like 1/3 of the season.
It's more than fucking yo.
They were tanking last year. You guys were tanking last year.
Alright, so if you missed that one, that was the next. Blitz-ups. Talk to me about the Blitz.
You talk to me about the Blitz.
I'd love to talk to you about the Blitz. Do you not have anything on it? You're a fucking idiot. So he's turning 32 in March. He has the best buy.
Is he that old?
Yeah. He's turning 32 in March. Listen to the Jords. You might have learned something.
Yeah.
Now, he's got the best buy. But this is it. Age, champ. Age is not a factor for this guy. Let me tell you why. Because he's not played less than 19 games in 10 years.
But George, he's the most athletic person.
That's why.
He's durable.
He's played 19 games in more than 10 years. So that is an amazing durability feat for Blicavz. He's got the best buy.
And you can get him in the mid-ruck, the only mid-ruck in the system.
Yeah, get him in the midfield for shits and giggles. Now, he's only ever had 100 average in all of his seasons.
And that was 8 years ago, George.
And you don't know where he will be played week to week. You don't know if he's in the back line, the mid, or the wing, or the ruck. But that being said, he's a tick for me.
He's just a big utility. Does everything.
What's your verdict?
Well, George, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think.
You think he's a tick?
Yeah, sure. But there's nothing wrong with Blicavz. I liked him in the defence last year.
I think he's a very durable player in a season with so much uncertainty.
I'd rather him be the defence ruck than a mid ruck, but you know, we're going to have to get him in a ruck.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
you could get him to defence last year, Geordie. I'm not making this up.
Yeah, but we were looking for people to put in the ruck position, to cover that position.
I get it.
So it doesn't matter where the fuck else he is.
All right, he's in the ruck then. But he's also a ruckman.
So he's a durable player, and he's... If you done your fucking homework on him, you would have a different...
Oh, he's right here.
Yeah, fucking cockhead.
Cockhead. How much percentage? Let's have a look. How much percentage?
So, guys, he's one of the few ticks that I have here because they're so durable, and he's got a great buy. We'll cover you through the whole thing. So, anyone with Blicavz...
3% of teams. Wow.
Yeah, don't mind it. Don't mind the pick, guys.
Yeah, you can take that Blicavz one, George.
And he averaged 116 points in the last bit of the year, including finals. Oh. So
off he goes.
There you go.
Off he goes. All right, George, next one.
Nankervis, Sham, why don't you tell me about this guy that you love so much when you want to...
Nankervis. I think he's just so... I don't want to touch his willy.
Yeah, you do.
He's just a big, sturdy, lumbering... He's cool. He's cool. I like Nank. I think he's very underrated. I think...
Did you know, before you continue with your stats, that last year was his first full year. He played in 8 years.
He's ready.
So last year was Nankervis's first year that he played full season in 8 years.
He's in 1% of teams. And
should be in less.
He should be less. I just like him because he's a pilot. I think he's under average. If everyone...
Is that what, under average?
He's under... What am I saying?
I don't know, because he's not a good pick.
Undervalued, no, underrated, sorry. Underrated, not under average. I think he's a good piece. I think everyone's looking for the sole ruckmans, and there's a lot of people out there that say, nah, you don't want to get, Gawn Grundy, you don't want to get Jackson and Darcy. Look, if Meek is going to play alongside Reeves, maybe we don't get.
Yeah, so you're looking for sole ruckmans.
Sole ruckmans. So I saw that Jared Witts went soaring up in price, soaring up in ownership when that English went down, probably because he's the sole ruckman.
Who went? Sorry.
When English went down in the injury, Jared Witts in percentage teams went soaring up. I think it was like 4 or 5.
He was a good price.
Jared Witts is not a good price.
No, he was a good price.
Who?
Are you talking about when English went injured your last?
I'm talking about now.
Oh.
I'm talking about
because people don't know what they're doing.
Okay, I'm exactly that's what I'm saying, because people...
Did you know Nankervis' highest average in 8 years was 98?
Don't care. I think he's...
You don't?
Don't care. I still like him. I still think that he's durable. I think he's a sole ruckman. I think he's got a new grade of midfielders, not old people that don't want to play football and, I just think that... I think Richmond are going to be...
So what's your verdict on him?
I'm going to give him a soft yes.
I'm going to give him a strong no. I'm
going to give him a soft...
This is good, because this is the first time we've really disagreed on. I told you to touch his willy.
I don't want to touch his willy. I just think... Geordie, stop that. I don't want to touch it. I just think he's durable, 96 average. He's played, very hard towards the end of the season when Richmond were making finals contentions. Now they've got a new midfield brigade in there. I think they'll work well with Nank, and that's why I'm giving him a soft tick.
Now, speaking of old idiots, let's go to Goldstein. So he's 35 in July.
Jules, why? Why are we even talking about it?
Because people want to know every option. If you don't want to talk about it, let me talk about it.
You're talking about Goldstein.
Okay, so Goldstein is durable.
I'll try him in.
This is his 16th season. Please don't. This is his 16th season. He's played every game in the past 5 years.
This is his 16th season?
Yeah. He's played every game in the last 5 years. Every game. So that's a durable ruckman right there.
I don't know why he's not a ruck forward.
Good question.
Yeah.
Other than last year, he's averaged over 95 in the past 9 years.
It's very nice.
Now, it's very nice.
Very nice.
Xerri is obviously splitting the ruck duties with him now. So Goldstein was averaging 95 for the past 6 years up until Xerri came along last year. Now, be a straight X, but if Clarko wants to do something different with Goldie this year and he doesn't rate Xerri, he puts Xerri in the VFL and Goldstein's the lone ruckman. He goes from an X to a question mark pretty fucking quickly. Goldstein's not on many people's mind, and rightfully so, because the Xerri and Goldstein split is really bad.
So I'm looking at it now, 57% time in the ruck, Goldstein was there.
Xerri?
And Xerri's, 51.
So they're pretty much going Harveys. It's not what you want. Goldstein's obviously 35, but the reason why that doesn't matter as much is because he's played every fucking game in the last 5 years. So if Clarko comes in and he said, look, I don't rate Xerri, I want you playing VFL, you're not ready. And Goldstein's a sole ruckman, I'm going to get Goldstein.
Wow.
But he's actually a cross right now from what we know, and a question mark if that happens.
Okay. So what you're saying is a question mark to see if Clarko thinks Xerri's not ready for the game.
Because he's pretty raw, he's pretty fresh at it. If he wants to develop him in the VFL, that's another story. He looks like he could contribute, but Goldstein is durable. He's a good scorer.
He's
when he's by himself.
George, he's probably one of the oldest people in the league.
Yeah, I agree. But you
hate old people.
I only hate old people if they're not durable. But Goldstein's played.
All right.
But Goldstein's played every game in the last 5 years.
Changing the narrative, Geordie, to suit your stupid, stinky 35-year-old Goldstein.
I've got him as an X, but as a question mark if it changes. So.
Yes, you do have him as an X. Give him that. All right, X for me too, George. He's too old and too stinky and too lumbering and stationary.
Speaking of stinky, you really smell bad. Now, let's talk about everyone's favourite popular Marshall pick.
Where do we start?
Oh, you don't want... I'll start.
Where do we start? George,
Rowan
Marshall, sole ruckman, 500k, dominates when he's on his own every single time. Every time he's with the second ruck, he doesn't do that good, but when he's by himself...
Now,
however, I'm not finished with good old Rowan Marshall. All the talls are hurt. Membry's hurt.
Oh, he is.
Oh, King is hurt.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, yeah, and that even, the guy that was going to get some good time, Matt Allison.
Yep.
He's hurt.
There's one more.
Who's the other one?
I've got it here in my bit of summary.
All we're saying is all the big... we said Membry, we said Allison, we said King. Tom Campbell.
I think he's actually good. He's one
that's
anyway.
He's actually good. But look, they need all the tours that they can get.
And Hayes?
Hey, yeah, that's the one. Hayes is hurt too. That's why he's here. That's why he can. That's why he's earning the big bucks.
So I researched every single ruckman and you picked like 10.
10. Anyway, Ryan Marshall, the price dominates when he's on his own, and I've got a really good feeling he's going to be on his own for a while.
Yeah, he could be on his own in the forward line since there's no forward options anymore. So they've lost their 2 best forwards, Max King, Membry, and their backup, Allison and Hayes. So if Tom Campbell is fit, I do see a reality where he's playing forward and Campbell's playing ruck, because Marshall is a serviceable forward and Campbell is an okay
It's lucky they've got Mitch Owens, because Mitch Owens has been playing full forward.
Mitch Owens, the midfielder?
Yeah.
Oh, he can play that because it's going to change up real soon. So, he's got the first bye with only 4 teams in it, so that's not too bad.
That's great.
Obviously, the injury list, there is a chance he can be played forward. So, it's not like, Marshall and off to the races. With all these injuries, there is a good chance he could be played forward.
There's 42% people saying that we're off to the races.
42% of people are saying we're in trouble. And I don't know what to pick. But Marshall, I'm one of those people, by the way. Or am I? Now, there's a video interview released where Marshall said, right, it's gone, I'm ready to be number 1 ruckman, and then that's when all the injuries happen. So he wants to be number 1 ruckman. I think that's the narrative he's telling Ross.
I don't think Ross Lyon is going to give it to anyone else. He looks.
I think he could not, but if his hand is being forced because there's no one can take a clunk up there, because who's going to take a mark up in their 450?
Mitch Owens, I just told you.
I know, but who's realistically going to take a mark? Like, if it's going in there,
Jack Williams is not going to get a game.
They're just going to kick grubbers in there.
Yeah, well.
Well, anyway, so it's just something. He's a tick. He's my verdict. He's a tick.
He's a tick. But don't confuse him then.
I am going to confuse him because he's a tick. But if you see him in the forward line round 1, don't be surprised. I fucking told you.
Look, he's a tick. Not only that, even if he does get the forward line, I don't think he'll lose value. He's 500k. It's pretty cheap for a ruckman.
He is. He's a good price, and that's why we're going with him.
So that's fine. I like him. I like him a lot, and I think everyone should too, and everyone does, because 42% of people own him. So, moving on.
But if you don't.
So I think I agree with everyone else in the Supercoach world. 42% own him, and that's probably my number 1 tick. And I think, a lot of them would have him as number 1 or number 2 ruck. Obviously, there's only 1 or 2, so that was a stupid thing to say. But no, yes. I think he's at number 1. If there was the biggest tick, it will be on Ryan Marshall for me.
Yep. I think it's a very tentative tick on all of our ticks, because there's always none of these absolute guys fucking chuck these in your team. These are the best of the rest, and you choose which one of these ticks, because me and Maddie put in the research that will ensure that these guys are the better picks. Now, I want to talk about the ones that you haven't done any research on. Pruess, 506k.
Stinks.
Flynn, 464k.
No.
And Briggs, 250. Shut the fuck up.
All these GWS losers.
So, last year, Pruess played 10 games. Flynn played 12 games. Jesus. And Briggs played 4 games. So there's no clear ruckman there. So none have a huge ceiling.
You got Matt Flynn, who's averaged 68 centre bounces, 68% centre bounces. You got Briggs at 51, but how many games did he play? Maybe 4.
I said 4.
And then you got Pruess, who just loves to hurt people.
So he played 10 games. Now,
suspended 3 times.
The job security for Flynn as a ruck is shaky. Pruess is probably the main ruckman, but he injures people too much. He's very aggressive at the ball. None of these 3 are viable options.
I think he got suspended twice and injured once, and that injury lasted ages when it was supposed to be a 2-weeker.
He's not a viable. None of these GWS guys are any viable. So to pick Oscar McInerney.
So just saying, big cross for GWS.
Oh yeah, cross for all those ones, guys.
Yeah.
Oscar McInerney is 29 this year. Doesn't really hurt it. He's never averaged over 93.6.
I think he's too small for a ruckman. I think they need someone big.
He's pretty big.
He's pretty shit with hit-outs though.
It doesn't matter. You can be tall and shit at hit-outs.
But he doesn't get the ball. He doesn't get the possessions to make up for his shit lack of scoring in hit-outs. He doesn't get the hit-outs, and I don't think he's been relevant for a long time. George, I'm going to say a big cross for him.
Well, you haven't done any research, so let me fucking finish this.
All right.
So, 29 this year.
Let's talk about McInerney.
He's never averaged over 93.6 before.
Shut up, Matty. Let's talk about Oscar McInerney.
I want to keep repeating these stats until let me talk about Oscar McInerney.
Okay.
So, Oscar McInerney.
I'm excited about Oscar.
He's missed 3 games in the last 3 years.
Yeah, give
Your ceiling isn't high enough, guys.
Next one.
We need to give him the reason, you stupid doofball.
Look, if we're laughing that hard about Oscar McInerney, he's clearly the laughing joke. He's got a good boy. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, he's got a good midfield around him now, but...
He was there.
Darcy Cameron. Okay. Now, he's someone you can...
Darcy Cameron, he's someone you can set your watch
465k, 28 this year. Is a super discounted price because he averaged...
Very undervalued.
He averaged 46.6 in the first half of the year when he was a forward, with scores of 19, 72, 50, 37, and 55. And he averaged 96.3 in the finals. That's not contributing to his score. So we got a part at the start where he averaged. Sorry, I'm just about that Oscar McInerney. So
at the start of his season, he
averaged 46.6, and at the end he averaged 96 in the finals. Both of those. So the 96 is not.
He had a really shit period for the first 7 rounds because Grundy was in there. When Grundy got down on Anzac Day, he had a nice big sexy chunk of good Supercoach scores. However, this was because Mason Cox wasn't in that team. It was Aiden Begg or someone stupid like that from Collingwood helping him out. But then when Mason Cox came back in and Begg went out, this is where Darcy averaged more like 70-something odd-ish. And that's where I'm putting the question mark on, because I don't want to see Mason Cox in Collingwood's team if I'm going to pick Darcy Cameron.
Now, if I told you, this is something you won't know. Darcy Cameron's turning 28, right? She's turning 28 this year. How many games do you think he's played?
He hasn't played much because
he hasn't run through his 50 banner.
He hasn't? No.
He's played 48 games, and for a 28-year-old, he's very inexperienced. But
I don't think that's a problem because
I think that's a good thing because he's an older ruckman that hasn't had much experience in AFL, and he's going to get a big taste as the #1 ruckman in Collingwood.
I was going to say, because that Tom Short came into the system when he was 26 and he was all Australian pretty much in the 3rd or 4th year that he came in. So he didn't have much experience either. So there's a lot of good players that came in at a later age that absolutely dominated. So hopefully our boy Darcy can pick up, and as Tom Mitchell said in one of our videos, pick this guy too. But Tom, I don't want to pick him if Mason Cox is in the team.
So I got some negatives for him. Obviously, Cox is going to be stealing CBAs. He could not even be the #1 ruckman if they tried to mix things up. He's got a busy bye, and he had a preseason injury, but he's going to be fit for round 1. I'll give him a tick. I'll give him a tick because there's lots of value around him. Just such good value with what he averaged last year as a forward and the points that is not counted as his average in the finals. Now, is a tick because he's dual position as well? Is a tick because he's cheap? Now, is he a lock? Absolutely hell no, but I reckon he belongs in the tick sections with the other 3 or 4 guys that we mentioned.
I don't think he'll lose value. I think if anything, he's got more upside than anything. Looking at his CBAs, he attended Rucks, 48% of the time, and that's inclusive of those first 7 games where he didn't really, 0, 4%, 9%, didn't really do well, but he snapped straight away over the last end of the season. But when Mason Cox came in, Mason Cox took, about 40, you're probably averaging around 40 plus CBAs as well. So I'm thinking it's going to be a 50-50 split. Steely Sidebottom, our boy, said it as well.
Definitely playing in the ruck for the VFL.
Cox is definitely playing in the ruck.
In the ruck for the VFL.
And by saying that, just to get Cox out of the way, because he's...
I got Cox there. He played 15 games last year. You can't trust him as a ruck. You can't trust him as a forward. He's in his 30s.
You can trust him in a prelim against Richmond. That's about it.
Tom Hickey.
Wow.
He's 32 in March. 13 games last year. He's probably the #1 ruckman, but he's getting on. He hasn't played a full season.
How many clubs has he been? I reckon he's been about 4 clubs.
Listen. He has 4 clubs exactly. He hasn't played a full season in 12 years.
Does he need a haircut?
He hasn't played a full season in 12 years.
Do we need to say any more?
No, that's what I want to end with.
Next.
Now, speaking of his, speaking of his younger teammate Ladhams, 429. He's obviously the future ruck of Sydney. 11 games last year. He turned 25 this year. Sydney could give him more of a go than Hickey.
Was he injured last year? Those last games that he missed?
I don't know.
Who knows? Well, look.
Because I know...
I'm looking at the CBA Sydney stats right now, and he's #1 at 73% CBA.
So when he did get a game, but I think Hickey was injured up until then, and then when Hickey was fit,
that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So maybe not. Okay.
So he's been in the system for 4 years, but he's never played more than 15 games in a season. He's never averaged more than 85.
I liked him at Port Adelaide.
And he's an absolute no.
Yeah. I agree.
Jeremy Finlayson, let's just say he's no to him. He's dual position, but he might not be fit for round 1, round 2.
Jeff, I want to talk about Lloyd Meek. Because he going in order. Lloyd Meek's coming up. Let's just go to, you just had him there. He was the next one then anyway.
Sweet.
Lloyd Meek. I like Lloyd Meek.
Oh dear.
George, I like Lloyd Meek. He's been really, I've heard some, so I got some connections in the Hawthorn team. They went and saw the boys play, and Lloyd Meek, he's just impressing everybody. Really impressing everybody, and I think he might be in front of Reeves. I think it's a question mark for big old Lloydie. He played a few games with Freo, and the games that he played, they were decent scores when he was matching up with Darcy, and Darcy's obviously that number 1 ruck. Obviously it didn't work out for Fremantle. But no, all the things that I'm hearing about Meek are very positive and very good, and I can see him being lined up for round 1. I think Hawthorn as a whole, not just Rucks, but we're talking about Rucks, I think it's all wait and see for Hawks to see where everyone's playing, because there's mixed rumours, mixed stories about everything, about who's going to be the number 1 ruck. I think there is room for both of Reeves and Meek in the team, because now we know that Mitch Lewis isn't playing, now we know that Gunston's not there anymore as a tall target. So they will be playing one or the two. It's just...
I think they'll be playing both.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they will be playing... What I said, one of the two. That makes no sense. They will be playing them both based on Mitch Lewis going down, Gunston out. And they didn't get him in for nothing. I think they got him in for a reason. And it's either going to be tapping it down 50% of the time, or...
This is like the...
equivalent of
shit version of Grundy and Gawn.
I'll say
because
I'll say
only because of the 50% each.
I'll say shit version of Cox and Cameron, to be honest. Mason Cox and Cameron. Like Grundy and Gawn are up here.
I think Reeves and Meek are ahead of Mason Cox, that's for sure. So Meek is 25 this year. I've been seeing a bit of their pre-season. I can't put Reeves or Meek separately. I think they're both going to be going 50 CBAs each, which is not ideal for any starting ruckman. You don't want that for anyone. He's been sharing the hit out with Reeves all pre-season. He's only played 15 games of AFL footy ever, so all up in total. He's only played 15 games.
I don't mind the pick.
He's only played 15 games in total.
Who's that?
Meek.
I don't mind the pick. I don't mind the pick.
If named as the only ruckman, you consider, but at the moment, he's a cross for me.
I wouldn't say cross, I'll say question mark.
I'm not on the fence.
Yeah, I'm on the fence with Meek. I think, I think it's a bit exciting for Hawthorn, even though we think they're going to do bottom of the ladder type stuff. But no, I think he's fit in really well, and
I think he has, and I think they're drafting because they thought a lot of potential, but I think Reeves is pretty good as a ruckman as well.
Well, this is what happened with Darcy Cameron. He couldn't get a game in Sydney, but he had potential, and he comes out to nearly be, in a final team. You know what I mean? Like with Collingwood. I think he does have a lot of potential, but he was always behind people that he couldn't be the number 1 ruck. I don't think there's much competition for Meek to put his hand up to be the number 1 ruck when it comes to Reeves, to be honest. Like Reeves is okay, but I think Meek as a player is better than him. I think they need them both. Because
he's only played 15 games of AFL football.
But that's what I'm saying. This is why I'm comparing him to Darcy Cameron, when Darcy Cameron was in, teams and couldn't get games because they were behind so many players, and when you get an opportunity...
But he hasn't got an opportunity because Reeves is still on the side and he's highly rated.
That's why I've got him on a question mark, because if he... Okay. I can see him doing what Darcy Cameron did when he was in clubs where he couldn't get games, and now he's moved to another club where he could potentially be the number 1 ruck.
But if you see Reeves and Meek named in the same side,
I think they're going to need him anyway.
Well, they're going to play him, but
they're going to play. I think one of them needs to be a forward.
I don't think either of them is ever going to be getting less than 30, 35, 40% CBA.
So you think it's a 50-50? All right.
It could be 40-60.
Yeah.
but I think that for a ruckman like that, in a bottom side.
So I'll backtrack. I think it's more of a tick in the question mark, because I like the price. I like that he's actually dominating in his sims, and he stood out as the number 1 ruck. So based on that, normally I don't go on hype, and I don't really like to go based on hype, but he's got the hype, and I hear all good things about him. So
I'll talk about Reeves a bit. His partner in crime. He's Well, pretty much all the same as above RE CBAs. He's 25 this year. He's only played 17 games of football, so he's pretty raw as well. In his first year, average, I think, last year averaged 59.
64 year average.
64, yep. And then the year before that, 82.4.
Well, he's in 1% of teams. Like,
look, it's too hard. And then you've got Max Lynch as well. He's way behind in the pecking order. So for me, all three of those Hawthorn boys are crosses.
I'll probably give Reeves a cross, but I like the way Week's playing, so I'll give him a question mark towards with 1 foot over the fence. That's my verdict on good old Meeky boy.
Now, the one that we've all been waiting for, Scotty Lycett, champ. And we need some of your energy.
All right, look, Scotty Lycett.
Get us into it. It's been a long one, guys. If you're still with us, love you. And if you're new here, like and subscribe. Because
well, good old Scott Lycett. How many teams do you reckon he's been in, George? I think he's been in West Coast. Scotty Lycett. Did he go to St Kilda?
No.
You don't know?
I care about the now.
You care about the now? Anyway, well, he's in Port Adelaide now, and he's pretty cheap considering what he used to start with. Let's just talk about him. So I think he's very popular as far as the
He's actually not. He's only in 4% of teams.
I thought it was a lot higher than that.
Yeah, but you're not. It's just the communities that are around us that have him.
Okay, so $429,000. Like, that's value.
That is value. What are we getting for that money, champ? Tell us.
Well, a sole ruckman, George. Like, that's like averaging about 70.
He's not. He's 30.
Not a sole ruckman.
He's 31 this year. He's in 4% of teams, which is surprising. He was named in the weaker side in Port Adelaide's sim match today. Well, it's going to be tomorrow for you guys. But so yesterday. He was named in the weaker side. Now, if someone has an injury history and he's not a prolific scorer, something small like being named in the weaker side could be enough to put you off when Teakle has been flying this preseason. I've heard great reports about Teakle flying. I've seen, him on the mats doing these huge speckies and stuff like that. At all accounts, Teakle is flying. Scotty Lycett, in 12 years, he's only played 1 full season. 12 years, 1 full season. That is huge durability concerns.
But when he's on the park, George, he is average 81, 101, 96, 94.
In 12 years, he's averaged over 100 once. He's averaged over 100 once, which was a low 100, 101. And he's only had 1 full season. Plus, you hear he's training with the B team. That makes you a bit iffy. Doesn't it? Because I don't think if someone who's been in the system 12 years, that's played 1 full season and he's going to have another full season this year. It's not going to happen. They're going to either rest him at various stages or they're going to trial Teakle more. He's a question mark for me just because of the options this year. Mm-hmm. If there were better options, he'd be a cross. I don't like it.
I think if he stays on the park, he's worth the risk.
I don't think he is going to stay on the park. That's the whole thing. Because he's played 1 full season in 12 years.
I'm looking at what you're saying, champ. He's played 1 full season in his whole career.
And what are you risking it for, guys? Because if you're risking it because you want to save a bit of cash, fair enough. But even his highest number, it's not like he's getting Darcy numbers 118 average. He's getting 101, his highest average year. For someone who's... It's a bad pick. It's a question mark for me.
Wow. Why is everyone getting him then?
He's not. He's in 4% of teams.
4% of teams. Wow.
Because a lot of the community... They might see stuff on Lycett which they like, and they hear what that sounds like he's a good chick.
I think all right. So the 4% of teams that pretty much are mainly our community, because we've seen a lot of teams with Lycett in there. That's hence why I think he's got to be in at least 20% of teams at least.
What's your verdict?
Well, look,
you had a different verdict, and then you heard my stats, and now you're changing it, didn't you?
It's not that I have a different verdict. Like at the moment, he's sitting. Well, this is my wife's team, but Lycett's in there.
Tell you what, she needs to change her rucks.
Sarah, what are you doing? Anyway, pretty much. Well, look, just based on the fact, I think because he's the sole ruckman, I didn't know about Teakle. So, that's
he's been flying pre-season.
And obviously, I haven't checked. I've been working like a dog all day today in 40-degree heat. However, I didn't see this article that...
If your boss is watching, fucking get him some aircon.
I need some aircon, Geordie.
His boss is Geordie.
My boss is not Geordie. Anyway.
I'm his boss. Get back to work again.
Get back to work, you little... I didn't know about that Port Adelaide game. Haven't really looked at Herald Sun or AFL or any of my
Told you, I'm on it all the time.
So I'm kind of stumped to hear that from you, Geordie.
Do you think so? Now, it could be an overreaction. Maybe they wanted him to just train with the shooter midfielders for some reason. I made a post and asked the community, is it...
Did he play well? Or you didn't really, nothing was...
Who's he going to tap it to? Come on, let's be honest.
In the B team, maybe.
Now, do you think it's an overreaction, him training in the B team and Teakle with the A team? Or do you think it's alarm bells?
Maybe it's like, all right, Lycett, you got a point to prove, do it. Beat all the best boys, and I don't know.
Yeah, right. I think he needs to beat his own mental demons to play fucking a full season.
While we're here, what has Teakle done that's made him
He's just a young talent. He's 190-something K.
He's played 2 games.
Yeah.
Is Teakle in your team, Jules?
No.
No, because as a bench option.
I mean, if he's named round 1, he will be.
He will be, Teakle, you
absolutely. I mean, like from what I've seen, every Port Adelaide match sim, he always plays really good. Maybe they're rewarding him with some time in the A team.
He's played 2 games of his... Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I don't think... Look...
And maybe they're looking at the new
now that I'm looking at Teakle, I'm not really scared of Teakle at the moment of him taking Lycett's position. I know he, like, you know, this is clearly his 2nd year of footy, right? So Ruckman, like we all know, they develop in age and they get better and better as they go. Port Adelaide are looking for a premiership window, obviously with the you know, with the Willariolas and the Horn Francises and the players that they got in.
So you're saying Horn Francis ready-made, ready to go?
No, I'm thinking that they think that Port Adelaide, I'd hate Horn Francis, but I think that... was Lycett tapping it to Horn Francis in the B team? Oh, I'd imagine yes.
He was actually lining up in the midfield with Rosie. And Wines. Their main starting 3.
I hate it.
At almost every centre bounce was Wines, Rosie...
Don't convince these people to get Horn Francis.
I'm just giving them the match sim stats. Maybe because they actually want to win Supercoach, unlike you. They want real stats. Stop kicking the fucking camera, you dingus.
Closer than you ever would, George.
Yeah,
no. Anyway, look, Lycett, I still think he's a good pick. I think he's not going to. I think Teakle's not going to hurt his chances of being the #1 ruck. I think he's picked for value if he stays on the park. Which is right. That's speculation, but
this year is longer.
It's a clear tick. Like looking at his averages over the year, like he's averaged 100 over once in his career. However, he was always 2nd best in West Coast. To whoever was rucking there, which was Nick Natanui, Dean Cox, whoever, you know, how many seasons back he won. Then he came to Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide had a pretty... Did they have a good ruckman before Lycett? Ryder? Who else did they have?
Brendan Lade.
That's a long time ago. I don't even know. Probably. Yeah, you're right.
Paddy Ryder.
Paddy Ryder, probably. But look, I still think he's a tick. I still think he's good money for value. On light of Geordie's, you know, reading the articles about the sim match, that is alarming, but I don't so much concern. Maybe it is a bit of an overreaction to think that he's not going to get a game.
Not going to get a game, but you think that he won't get a full year.
I don't think they need to, because they got big Charlie Dicko in the forward line.
Yeah, Finlayson is injured.
Maybe, okay. All right.
So anyway, let's move, before we get on to Sammy Draper, which I know some of you Dons fans are keen, we're going to talk about TDK and Pinnonet. So the Carlton 2 ruckman. Tom De Koning is 412,000, and
well, I like Tom De Koning in the way that he was my breakout for the Blues. I think if he gets his shit together, I think he's got very, very good talent.
24 years old this year.
Yeah, 24 years old. Like for the games that he played last year, he was in there 70%. So I kind of think they like him over Pinnonet. Pinnonet is in 69, but Pinnonet did miss a lot of games. So I think Tom De Koning has potential to be a better ruckman than Pinnonet.
Why don't you look at all the games that they played together? Because that's the biggest stat. I will. Because round 1, where they both played, they only played, I think, 5 or 6 games together. So when they played together round 1, Pinnonet got 76 CBAs and Tom De Koning 24. Round 2, when they played together, he got Pinnonet 73% CBAs and Tom De Koning 27. Round 3, when they played together, 81% CBAs to Pinnonet.
So clearly Pinnonet was getting 70% more than what De Koning was.
So they prefer Pinnonet as a ruckman based on the stats. Every time they played together, it was 64% was the absolute lowest that Pinnonet got, and the highest TDK got.
So clearly Carlton like Pinnonet over De Koning.
Correct.
I like De Koning. I think he's got potential.
I think what hurts him is that he's so flexible, because they can play him up forward for a bit, they can play him down back for a bit. Pinot's not flexible. I think that's why when they're in the team together, you know...
they pick him over.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But anyway, on that case, they're both crosses at the moment, because I wouldn't pick them in Supercoach, but I got a feeling that Tom De Koning can potentially increase his average a lot higher than what he's averaging at the moment. I think he's got a lot of potential, and I really want to see him do well for Carlton. But yes, both crosses for me.
So TDK played 19 games last season, and the year before in 2021 he played 13 games, averaged 59.8. Pinnonet, he played 8 games last year due to injury, and the year before he averaged 85 on 13 games. So.
All right, fair enough. With both crosses, this video's gone for way too long. Let's get to Draper.
Let's talk to Draper, and if there's anyone else you want us to talk about, it's not going to happen.
No.
This is gone.
Draper's the last one because he's the cheapest one that's relevant. George Draper for me.
Go for it. You start. You kick things off with
We've said this a lot about Draper. He's been averaging 72, 72, 72 for the last 3 years.
Is this the year? It's not. Oh, Bombers fans, the plane's coming. Matty.
Again, with my source from Essendon.
Tell me, yeah, go. You guys want to know this.
So there was a match sim, obviously, but and I asked about, head-to-heads. By the way, unrelated to Rucks, Parish and Merritt just dominated. Setterfield, he did really well in the first game. He looked lost in this match sim to the point where he actually took off the A vest and they gave him the B vest. That's how, he just...
And we'll be talking about that in the next video.
We'll be talking about it in the next one. However, when it came to Draper and Phillips made Draper look like a child.
What about Nick Bryan? I heard so much good things about Nick Bryan.
I'm talking about the Rucks.
Oh, I thought he played Ruck.
No, Phillips was Ruck. Phillips was in the B team.
Phillips made him look bad.
Sam Phillips was in the B team. Draper was in the A team, and Phillips ran rings around Draper to the point where it was just honestly, wow,
Oh.
Yeah. So
is that a really good preseason?
Yeah, is that a really good preseason? No, well, Phillips, he just dominated. He killed Draper to the point where it was embarrassing, and the B team kind of did well. But if it wasn't for Merritt and Parish and Shields, they just eliminated. Anyway, point for Draper is we had so many things about him when we did the Essendon podcast and the Essendon team, update, but. I think he might even go less than average. I think he's not going to... He's 72, 72, 72. I see him averaging 70.
Now, yes, I'm guessing your verdict is a big cross.
No, not good enough. I don't want to get a 70.
Okay, so I think...
As a premium ruck or R2.
I think every game I watch Draper play, he looks like he has amazing talent and a tank.
We've gone through this.
I know, but we're talking about Draper.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing. I'm saying we've gone through this and I agree. Yep.
And... I think he's going to increase on his average. I don't know if he's going to increase that much. Look, unless he has an absolute stellar pre-season, he's a question mark for me, only based on talent. But everything I've seen so far and heard so far in the pre-season, there's no reason to expect him to break it only just based on he's got talent. Because every year Bombers think he's going to break out, the Supercoach community thinks he's going to break out, and 72, 72, 72 average. It could be another same story, but he's getting...
Oh, look, he's the number one ruck at the Bombers. They really love him there. I'm just saying, regarding the match sim that happened yesterday.
Yep.
I would, if I had to pick a Supercoach team based on that performance, I would not be...
Yeah. So he didn't convince us anyway to help his selection. Yeah. If we do hear good things about him, we'll let you guys know. But guys, we're going to wrap that one up because it has been a long one.
I don't even want to do another one today. This has been huge.
Well, we don't.
We'll see. All right. Anyway, guys. George, take it away.
Look, if you're new here, like and subscribe. If you're one of our subscribers made it to the end, hope we could give you some clarity. We gave you a couple of long ticks there. Hopefully, we sorted out some of the X's from the question marks.
And George, what about those long trips on the train or on the tradies and?
Well, mate, if you're tuning in on Spotify, and for the guys that are tuning on Spotify, thank you. We're getting people from United Arab Emirates listening, Japan.
That's what we want to see. That's all we want to see.
So the guys in the United Kingdom and such, hello, how you doing?
How you going, guys?
I'm tired, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
See you later, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
See you guys.
Any questions you have about Ruckman, chuck them in the comments. I'm sure we'll love to get on to talking about Rucks. But we've literally spoken about every fucking viable Ruckman.
I'm tired.
Let's go to bed.
Let's
get some KFC.
Let's do some tap outs.
All right.
All right, see you guys. Have a good one.